Watching simpler creators win, feeling frustrated, feeling like, man, why is that moving and mine isn't, is a real feeling. But this episode is about what happens next. Because the quiet danger is not failure, it's bitterness. Failure can teach you. Failure can slow you down. Failure can make you reassess. But bitterness does something different. Bitterness closes you. It makes you stop learning. It makes you look at everything through a dirty window. And if I'm not careful, that can become more dangerous than the numbers ever were. There are times where I look at YouTube and think, I just don't understand this. And when you're tired, and when you're working, and when you're raising kids, and when you're trying to build inside small windows, that can make you feel a certain way. It just can. Because you know what it costs. The late nights, the edits.
Alright, same face off, girls.
Oh, come on.
The uploads, the consistency. And then the platform gives you silence. That silence can mess with you. Mind you, I'm inside my 4th year doing this. But the silence itself is not the biggest threat. The biggest threat is what I let that silence turn me into. Because even the way I judge this stuff is subjective. And the way you look at videos, it's through a subjective lens. So when I say something looks simple, that is my opinion, point blank period. When I say something looks polished, that is my opinion. When I look at a video and think, I don't understand why that worked, that does not mean there was nothing there. It may just mean that I am not the target audience, or I am missing what the audience saw, or my own frustration is making me look at the work through the wrong lens. That's the thing about creative work. There is no clean scoreboard that says this video is good, this video is bad, this one deserves attention, this one doesn't. There is an audience and not an audience. There is a connection and not a connection. There is timing, clarity, taste, bias, context. So part of the work for me at this age is learning how to check myself while I'm reacting. Because my first emotional response is not always the full truth. Sometimes it's frustration. Sometimes it's comparison. Sometimes it's pride. Ooh. Sometimes it's me wanting the work to be rewarded in a way that I believe it should be rewarded. And if I don't catch that, bitterness can start sounding like wisdom. That is dangerous. Bitterness usually shows up quietly. It sounds reasonable. It says, people don't care about real work. It also says, the platform only rewards nonsense. It also says, maybe this is pointless. It could also say, you're too late. It could say, you should have started when you were younger. And the dangerous part of it all, some of those thoughts actually feel true in the moment, but they're not fully true, but believable enough to sit with you. And if you let that sit too long, they start becoming the lens. And now you're not just disappointed, you're suspicious. You're not just frustrated, you're closed. And once bitterness gets in the driver's seat, you stop seeing clearly. And that is what I want to avoid. Because I can be disappointed and still be a student. I can still be frustrated and still learn. I can still be confused and still ask better questions. But I cannot be bitter and open at the same time. Not really. But bitterness makes every lesson feel like an insult. It makes every successful person look like proof that the game is broken. It makes every low-performing video feel like evidence that the work does not matter. It can make you protect your ego instead of studying the truth. I don't want to be so committed to feeling wrong that I miss what the work is trying to teach me. This matters beyond YouTube because I'm a father. My kids are watching how I handle losing. They're watching how I handle slow progress. They're watching how I respond when something doesn't move the way that I think it should. I could tell them keep going, to stay coachable, to not quit when things get hard. That's it. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. I did it. That same truth has to apply to me. But if they watch me become bitter because my own work is not moving fast enough, then what am I really teaching? This whole thing started from personal investment. If I'm better to myself, I can be better to others. That's my tagline. But bitterness does not make me better. It makes me smaller, harder to lead, harder to learn, harder to be present, and that is too expensive. I can be honest about the frustration, but I cannot let the frustration poison the house, my house. Sometimes bitterness feels like protection. It feels like armor. If I call everything fake, I don't have to admit that I'm still learning. If I say the platform is broken, I don't have to ask where I'm unclear. If I dismiss what works for somebody else, I don't have to examine why it worked. That is not strength, that is avoidance. Boy, preaching out here. There's a part of me that would rather say this whole thing is stupid than sit in uncomfortable truth that I still may have work to do. More clarity, better framing, stronger titles, cleaner openings, which is cut and trim. A better bridge between the life I'm documenting and the person that I'm trying to reach. That's harder than complaining, but it is also more useful. So this is the line I'm trying to hold. I can critique the platform without becoming cynical. I can admit I want growth without letting growth become my identity. You know, this is important that I talk like this because as I write this, as I prepare this kind of stuff, I always go back to my athletic days. And even if you turn the TV on now and you look at the NBA finals, you look at the NFL games and you see where people are on massive highs or massive lows and they're interviewed, they always say the same things. We gotta be better. I gotta work harder. I gotta do things to make this go better, or to make this ship move, or to make our offense or make this team get to a place of where I want it to be, or get to a place where we want it to be. So listen, I can be frustrated by slow movement without turning slow movement into a personal insult. But I have to keep returning to the truth. The work is still building something. Even when the platform is quiet, the archive is still real. The reps are still real. The lessons are still real. The family record, that's real too. And the next layer is still in front of me. That is why bitterness is so dangerous. Bitterness would make me quit learning while I still have room to grow. And I do have room to grow. Right there.
What y'all think? This is gonna be terrible.
That's not a weakness. Come on, man. That's just the truth. I can get cleaner, clearer, sharper. That is the posture that I want. Not bitter, just open and paying attention to myself. Still willing to be corrected by the work. Still willing to ask, what is this teaching me? Instead of only asking, why isn't this rewarding me? That question changes everything. So if you're building something right now and it has not moved in a way that you have hoped, be careful. I'm trying to, and not just with quitting either. We gotta protect our mentals. And you know what? That means I have to keep my heart clean enough to keep learning. Just clean enough to not let disappointment turn into poison. You guys, these are all my thoughts. These are a combination of 4.5 years of doing this, of consistently uploading. So I have things to say. I have ugly thoughts, beautiful thoughts, and everything in between. So stick around as I continue to knock these out for the rest of the year. I will see you guys next week.